Think a penny is just spare change? Not always. Some Lincoln and wheat pennies with rare dates, mint marks, or errors are selling for hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Before you spend that 1 cent, check it carefully. It could be a hidden fortune in your pocket. The 1985 Lincoln cent is one of those coins that millions of Americans carried in their pockets, spent without hesitation, and never gave a second thought to. Copper-colored, small, and familiar, it was part of everyday life in the mid-1980s, and most people who saw it thought of it only as a simple penny. But to collectors, this year of the Lincoln Memorial cent holds more intrigue than many realize. Hidden among the billions struck are examples with minting errors, condition rarities, and unusual details that transform a 1 cent coin into a piece worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars at auction. The coin carries the same iconic design that had already been in circulation for decades by 1985. On the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner and first introduced in 1909, is the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. It's a design that has endured longer than any other in U.S. coinage, instantly recognizable to nearly everyone who sees it. Above Lincoln's head is the word liberty, to his right is the motto "In God We Trust," and to his left is the date, 1985. On some coins you'll also notice a small mint mark, either a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, while Philadelphia coins from that year carry no mint mark. The reverse of the coin, designed by Frank Gasparo and introduced in 1959 to replace the wheat cent reverse, shows the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. What makes this design so fascinating is that if you look very closely with a magnifying glass, you can actually see a tiny seated figure of Lincoln inside the memorial, making the Lincoln cent unique in that it portrays both the president's portrait and a statue of him on the same coin. Surrounding the memorial are the words United States of America, the motto E pluribus unum above the memorial, and the denomination 1 cent below. It's a simple but enduring design, one that had already been in use for over 25 years by the time 1985 rolled around. Now, while 1985 cents were produced in staggering numbers, over 5.6 billion at the Philadelphia Mint, more than 5.2 billion at the Denver Mint, and over 3.3 million proofs at the San Francisco Mint, what collectors know is that not all 1985 pennies are created equal. The vast majority circulated heavily, lost their luster, and today are worth only face value. But within that ocean of coins are gems that tell a very different story. One of the most interesting aspects of the 1985 cent is its place in the transition from copper to zinc. Starting in 1982, the mint began striking cents primarily from a copper-plated zinc composition, abandoning the solid bronze alloy that had been used for decades. By 1985, the transition was complete, and all circulating pennies from that year are copper-plated zinc, weighing 2.5 grams rather than the older 3.11 grams. But collectors are always on the lookout for transitional errors, coins struck on the wrong planchet, either leftover bronze planchets from earlier years or other denominations accidentally used. These mistakes are extremely rare but can command big prices when discovered. A 1985 cent struck on a bronze planchet would be a spectacular find, worth hundreds or even thousands depending on condition. But even within the regular 1985 cent series, condition plays a massive role in value. Coins that survived in pristine, uncirculated condition with sharp strikes and brilliant luster are in much shorter supply than you might think. High-grade examples, particularly those graded MS-67 or MS-68 by professional grading services, are rare and valuable. An ordinary 1985 D penny in circulation is worth 1 cent, but that same coin graded MS-67 red has sold for over $1,000 at auction. A Philadelphia issue in the same grade has also crossed into four-figure territory, with auction results pushing close to $2,000 in some cases. Proof examples from San Francisco in the highest PR70 deep cameo grade, representing absolute perfection, have sold for hundreds of dollars, far more than the few cents they originally cost to strike. Mint errors are another reason collectors keep their eyes open for 1985 pennies. Off-center strikes are some of the most dramatic, where the coin is not properly aligned in the press and only part of the design is struck, leaving the rest blank. A 1985 cent struck 50% off-center with the date visible can easily fetch $150 to $300. Double strikes, where the coin is struck more than once, sometimes with rotation between strikes, are even more spectacular and often bring $200 to $400. Broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar and spreads out wider than normal, often sell for $50 to $150. Clipped planchets, where part of the blank is missing, can sell for $50 to $100 depending on how dramatic the clip is. Then there are die varieties, the subtle differences created during the die-making process that collectors hunt for tirelessly. Double dies, where parts of the design are duplicated due to a misalignment in the die, are always popular. While the famous 1955 double die cent is the king of the series, collectors have identified minor double dies in later years, including 1985. These may not bring tens of thousands, but even a minor double die can bring $50 to $100 depending on demand. Repunched mint marks, where the mint mark was punched into the die more than once in slightly different positions, are another variety collectors look for in 1985 pennies. Auction results highlight just how much value can be hidden in these small coins. One of the most impressive came when a 1985 Philadelphia cent graded MS-68 red by PCGS sold for nearly $2,000. That's an incredible result for a coin so common in circulation, but it shows how condition rarity drives prices. Similarly, a 1985 D-cent graded MS-67 red sold for just over $1,000. Another example of how even the most ordinary coin can become extraordinary if preserved in flawless condition. Proof coins from San Francisco in PR70 Deep Cameo have sold for $300 or more, again showing the strong demand for absolute perfection. Collectors also pay premiums for 1985 cents with unusual toning. Coins stored in certain environments can develop rainbow colors, blues, purples, and golds across their surfaces. These naturally toned coins are highly desirable, and while values depend heavily on eye appeal, some toned 1985 cents have sold for several $100s. What makes the 1985 penny so fascinating is that it embodies the tension between commonness and rarity. On one hand, billions were made, and almost every American alive at the time held one in their hand. On the other hand, the combination of errors, varieties, and condition rarities makes it a coin that still excites collectors nearly 40 years later. It's a perfect example of how the hobby of numismatics transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. Imagine the journey of one of these pennies. It was struck at the mint in 1985, perhaps in Philadelphia, and immediately bagged and shipped out to banks across the country. It may have been handed to a child as part of their allowance, spent in a vending machine, lost between couch cushions, or dropped on a sidewalk. For decades it circulated unnoticed, wearing down with every transaction. But maybe one lucky coin never entered circulation. Maybe it was pulled from a fresh roll, carefully tucked away, and preserved in mint condition. Decades later, it emerges, gleaming and nearly flawless, and when submitted to a grading service, it receives a top grade. That one coin, identical in design to billions of others, suddenly becomes worth $1,000 or more. That's the magic of collecting. The 1985 penny also represents a moment in time in American history. The mid-1980s were a period of change, with shifting economies, cultural trends, and technology beginning to move into the digital age. Yet the Lincoln cent remained constant, a symbol of stability, carrying the image of a president remembered for uniting a fractured nation. The coins themselves were changing, though, from bronze to zinc, from hand-punched mint marks to machine engraving, from billions minted for commerce to a growing interest in their role as collectibles. For collectors today, the 1985 cent is both accessible and challenging. Anyone can find one for face value, but finding one worth hundreds or even thousands requires knowledge, patience, and luck. It's the kind of coin that keeps collectors checking every penny, looking for that hidden treasure. And every auction result that makes headlines, whether it's a no-mint mark error, a flawless MS-68 survivor, or a spectacular off-center strike, only fuels the hunt. So the next time you come across a penny dated 1985, don't dismiss it too quickly. Look closer, check for a mint mark, examine the surfaces for signs of doubling, for unusual colors, for pristine luster. Weigh it to see if it matches the zinc standard or hints at something else. You might just be holding a coin that's worth far more than a cent. The 1996 United States 1-cent penny is one of those coins that many people barely notice when it passes through their hands. It's small, light, and usually regarded as the least significant denomination in everyday use. But the truth is, for collectors and those who understand the hidden world of coinage, the 1996 penny is far more than just pocket change. It holds its own place in the long legacy of the Lincoln cent series, and in certain cases, it has proven itself to be worth far beyond its 1-cent face value. Whether through pristine condition examples, rare mint errors, or auction appearances that surprise even seasoned collectors, the 1996 penny shows just how extraordinary an ordinary coin can become. The Lincoln cent had already been around for nearly 90 years by the time the 1996 penny was struck. Introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person rather than a symbolic figure. Victor David Brenner designed the obverse, which features the left-facing portrait of Lincoln that has remained largely unchanged since its debut. On the reverse in 1996, the design was still the Lincoln Memorial, crafted by Frank Gasparo in 1959. The memorial reverse had been in place for decades and was known for its intricate details, including a tiny image of the statue of Lincoln visible between the columns. By 1996, the penny had already gone through a significant change in composition. For most of its history, Lincoln cents were struck in 95% copper. But beginning in mid-1982, the mint switched to a copper-plated zinc composition due to rising copper prices. From that point forward, pennies, including the 1996 issue, were made of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating, weighing just 2.5 grams. Although the appearance remained the same, these newer pennies feel slightly lighter in the hand compared to their older copper predecessors. Billions of pennies were minted in 1996 across the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, with proof versions struck in San Francisco. Philadelphia issues have no mint mark, Denver coins show a small D, and San Francisco proofs carry an S. With such massive mintages, the coin is common, and most circulated examples today are still worth only face value. But as collectors know, the real value comes from condition and errors, and the 1996 penny offers some gems in both categories. Mint errors are one of the most exciting aspects of the 1996 penny. Off-center strikes are particularly appealing. If a penny is just slightly off-center, the value may only rise modestly, but when the strike is 40% or 50% off-center and still shows a full date, the value can climb into the hundreds of dollars. These errors are dramatic, instantly noticeable, and highly collectible. Double-struck pennies are another category of fascinating errors. These are coins that were struck once, then struck again with the design shifted, producing a doubled or overlapping image. A bold double strike on a 1996 penny could easily sell for several $100s depending on the severity and visibility of the doubling. Clipped planchets also show up for this year. A clipped planchet penny has a curved or straight section missing from the edge, the result of the blank being punched too close to the edge of the metal sheet. Such errors are relatively easy to spot and can bring values from $50 to $150 or more depending on size and rarity. Wrong planchet errors are among the rarest and most valuable. A 1996 penny accidentally struck on a dime or nickel planchet would be noticeably different in weight, size, or color. These are scarce and often sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars when they appear at auction. Another fascinating category of errors involves the plating process. Because 1996 pennies are copper-plated zinc, sometimes the copper layer fails to fully cover the zinc core. This results in coins with missing copper areas, exposing the silvery zinc beneath. These plating errors are striking and can bring strong premiums, sometimes well over $100 depending on size and eye appeal. Even without errors, pristine condition makes a huge difference in value. Most 1996 pennies circulated heavily, showing scratches, dull luster, and discoloration. But those that survived in mint state with sharp detail and blazing red color are far scarcer. A 1996 penny graded MS67 or higher by PCGS or NGC can sell for $100 or more, and the top-graded examples in MS68 have sold for several hundred. Registry set collectors, who compete to build the finest sets of coins by date and mint mark, are especially eager to pay top dollar for these high-end survivors. San Francisco proofs also deserve attention. Proof 1996 pennies were struck with polished dies and planchets, creating mirror-like fields and frosted devices. Collectors value them highly, particularly when graded PR70 Deep Cameo, the highest possible grade. These perfect proofs can sell for $100 or more, despite the fact that millions were made, because flawless examples remain rare. Auction records demonstrate the hidden potential of this coin. A high-grade 1996 penny-graded MS-68 red has sold for over $500 at major auctions, while dramatic off-center or double-strike errors have reached similar amounts. Missing plating and wrong planchet errors from 1996 have also crossed auction blocks for four-figure sums, proving that this otherwise common penny can achieve impressive prices under the right circumstances. What makes the 1996 penny particularly engaging for collectors is the balance it holds between modern familiarity and hidden rarity. It's modern enough that most people assume it has no value, but it's old enough now, nearly 3 decades since minting, that pristine survivors are not as easy to find in circulation. That combination of accessibility and potential makes it an appealing coin for both beginners and advanced collectors. Think for a moment about the journey of a 1996 penny. Minted in the billions, it left the presses bright and shiny, was released into circulation, and began traveling through the economy. Maybe it bought candy at a gas station, paid part of a toll, or was given as change at a store. It may have passed through countless hands, been forgotten in jars, or rolled up in bank wrappers. And yet, out of all those billions, only a tiny fraction carry unique errors or survived untouched in near-perfect condition. Those are the coins that collectors treasure, the ones that turn a humble cent into something worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The next time you see a 1996 penny, don't dismiss it as just another piece of small change. Look closer. Is it perfectly preserved, showing blazing red color with no marks? Does it display an unusual error like an off-center strike, clipped planchet, or missing plating? If so, you might be holding a coin that could fetch serious money from a collector or at auction. In the end, the 1996 1-cent penny is more than just a copper-plated zinc coin. It's part of the story of Abraham Lincoln, the history of American coinage, and the fascinating world of minting quirks and collector demand. For most people, it will always be just a penny. But for those who know what to look for, it's a reminder that even the smallest coin can hold the biggest surprises. The 2005 United States 1-cent penny may seem like one of the most ordinary coins ever struck. It's copper-colored, small, and passed from hand to hand without much thought. For most people, it's just a single cent, something they might leave at the bottom of a car cup holder on a store counter or in the change jar at home. But for collectors, the 2005 penny holds far more weight than its tiny value suggests. This is because pennies from this year, like many other modern issues, can hide valuable secrets when it comes to mint errors, condition rarity, and special varieties. And some of these coins have gone on to sell for thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars at auction. It's in those hidden details that the story of the 2005 penny really shines. The design of the 2005 penny continues the long-running Lincoln cent tradition, which began in 1909 with Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln. The obverse shows Lincoln facing to the right, his profile sharp and instantly recognizable, making the penny not just a coin but a small piece of American history carried in your pocket. Above Lincoln's head is the word Liberty, and to the right of his portrait is the date 2005. Depending on the mint where it was struck, you'll see a mint mark beneath the date, a D for Denver, a P for Philadelphia, or an S for San Francisco proofs. Surrounding the portrait at the top are the words "In God We Trust," a motto that has appeared on U.S. coins for more than a century. The reverse of the 2005 penny still carried the classic Lincoln Memorial design, a staple on the coin since 1959 when it replaced the wheat cent reverse. Designed by Frank Gasparo, the Lincoln Memorial reverse features the iconic Washington, D.C. monument with tiny details, including a miniature representation of Lincoln's statue inside the memorial. Above the building are the words United States of America, while just below them is the Latin phrase E pluribus unum. At the bottom is the denomination 1 cent, boldly displayed. The mintage of 2005 pennies was massive, as is common with modern coins. Philadelphia produced more than 3.9 billion pennies, while Denver added another 3.8 billion. San Francisco contributed 3.3 million proof pennies for collectors. With mintages this high, you might assume that every 2005 penny is common and worth only face value, and for the most part, you'd be correct. Billions still circulate today. However, collectors know to look closer, because within those billions are special examples that stand out for their condition, their errors, or their unique varieties. Let's begin with condition rarity. Most pennies, especially modern ones, suffer from scratches, dings, and wear almost immediately after being released. Finding a flawless example, especially in higher mint state grades like MS68 or MS69, is extremely difficult. These condition rarities are what push prices into the thousands. For example, a 2005 penny graded MS69 by PCGS has sold for over $2,000, simply because it was nearly perfect. Even common coins become treasures when they reach that level of perfection. Proof examples from San Francisco in PR70 Deep Cameo are also highly sought after, often selling for $50 to $150 depending on demand. But what really makes the 2005 penny fascinating are the error coins. Errors are accidental mistakes that occurred during minting, and they turn ordinary coins into collectible rarities. One of the most famous errors involving 2005 pennies is the double denomination error. This happens when a penny planchet is struck first as a different coin, like a dime, and then later struck again as a penny. The result is a bizarre hybrid coin that clearly shows designs from two different denominations. One 2005 penny struck on a dime planchet sold for more than $10,000 at auction. That's a huge return for what most people would see as pocket change. Another category of errors includes off-center strikes. These happen when the planchet is not properly aligned in the press, resulting in a coin with part of the design missing. A slight off-center strike of 5% or 10% might sell for $30 to $50, but dramatic errors of 50% or more, especially when the date is still visible, can sell for hundreds. A 2005 penny with a 70% off-center strike went for nearly $600, proving how much collectors prize dramatic mistakes. Broad strikes are another error to watch for. When a coin is struck without the retaining collar, the metal spreads out wider than normal, giving the coin a stretched look. A 2005 broad strike penny might bring $40 to $100 depending on condition. Clipped planchets are equally interesting. These errors occur when the blank metal discs used to make coins are cut too close to one another, leaving a curved clip on the edge of the coin. Single clips can sell for $30 to $80, while multiple clips on the same coin can reach $200 or more. Collectors love the visual impact of clipped planchets, making them highly desirable. Then there are wrong planchet errors, the holy grail of modern error coins. A penny struck on a foreign planchet or on a blank intended for another U.S. denomination creates an incredible rarity. A 2005 penny struck on a dime planchet, as mentioned earlier, brought thousands at auction. Another example struck on a foreign planchet sold for $7,500, showing just how valuable these unusual coins can be. Double dies, while less dramatic, are another category collectors look for. A double die occurs when the coin die shifts slightly during hubbing, creating doubling in the design elements. On 2005 pennies, minor double dies have been reported on the date, liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." While not worth thousands, they can bring $20 to $50 depending on clarity and demand. So how valuable can a 2005 penny really get? That depends on a mix of factors: condition, error, and collector demand. In regular high grades, the coin can reach $100 to $200. In top-graded examples, thousands. Error coins are where the real excitement lies. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and especially wrong planchet errors have sold at auction for between $5,000 and $20,000, depending on severity and uniqueness. In fact, one 2005 penny with a spectacular error sold for $18,000 at a major auction, shocking even seasoned collectors. It proved that even a coin minted in the billions could, under the right circumstances, become a prized treasure. This is why collectors and everyday people alike search their pocket change, because the thrill of finding one of these rare examples is unforgettable. Think about it. A coin worth 1 cent turning into $10,000 or more because of a mistake at the mint. That's the kind of story that sparks excitement and fuels the passion of coin collecting. And the 2005 penny, despite its massive mintage, continues to surprise collectors with discoveries that keep it relevant nearly 2 decades after it was struck. So the next time you're handed a handful of change, don't ignore the pennies. Look closely at the dates. If you see a 2005 penny, check for sharpness of detail, luster, and potential errors. Tilt it under good lighting. Look for off-center designs, missing parts, or strange shapes. If it looks unusual, it could be worth far more than a cent. That's the magic of coin collecting. Every coin tells a story. Every coin carries history, art, and sometimes a little mystery. The 2005 penny reminds us that even in the smallest denominations, there's a chance for big surprises.